Today I have 3 easy, budget-friendly ideas for Christmas decor that anyone can make. This video is part of a playlist that I'll have linked in the description box below. I hope that you'll go watch everyone. It is hosted by Rustic and Lace DIY and Kathy Jo DIY. Guest host today is Craft Away with May. I'll have their channels listed in the description box below as well. Our 3 challenge items today are a plastic cutting mat, a glass jar, and a plastic bottle or jar lid. For this one, you will need some kind of a glass jar with a metal lid, and we're going to rust the lid using salt, vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide. It does help if you scuff it up a bit with some sandpaper. The key to getting this to rust is to add more hydrogen peroxide than vinegar or salt. I checked it every few minutes and could tell something was happening, but it wasn't happening as quickly as I thought it would, so I left it for at least half an hour. And here's the way it turned out, and you can tell it did rust more on the places where I sanded, so I could probably have sanded that top a little bit more. Now I'm adding some Epsom salt to my jar to make a snowy frame for my printouts. I printed from Graphics Fairy some vintage Christmas postcards, and I'm going to roll that up and put that into the jar. You could also use family Christmas photos or take the snow out and use regular photos any time of year. Now I'm going to add some baker's twine and a small Christmas tree to embellish the top. I love how this little jar turned out, and it's very simple and a different take on a photo frame. For this project, I'll be using one of these chopping mats from Dollar Tree. I started at one of the corners and I rolled the mat into a cone shape, and I used hot glue to adhere it along the way. I used some large rubber bands to keep it in place until the glue had completely dried. Then I took my scissors and I trimmed off the excess at the bottom until the tree would sit flat on the surface. This did take a few different tries to get it completely level. Here's what it looks like when I finished that part. I did do 2 of these, but I'm only using 1 for this project. Next, I'm using one of these mop heads from Dollar Tree just because it's what I had on hand. I've had it for a while and haven't used it, so I decided I would use it for this project. You could use yarn or twine or any other sort of fiber that you wanted. I start by pulling out the strands of yarn, and I'm going to cut them in half and then cut them in half again. And lastly, I will cut the smaller pieces in half as well. Once I have a good pile to start with, I use my hot glue and I start hot gluing them onto the bottom part of the tree. I did let a little bit of it hang off so that if I had any shorter ones, I could go back and trim it all equally. I continued in this manner all the way around the tree. At this point, I went ahead and trimmed off the excess at the bottom. And then I started on the second row of yarn. For this row and subsequent rows, I did hot glue so that there was an overhang on the row below. After I did the second row, I decided to go back and unravel all of the yarn. And I did this after each row after they had been completely glued on. This will make for a fluffier tree. Once I got to the top, I wasn't really sure what to do about the last row. So you can see here what I did. I glued so that the yarn was sticking up above and below that last row. And then I went back and added one more row around. That was a bit time consuming, but I just turned on a show and watched my show while I glued. Now I'm going to add one of these rusty stars from Hobby Lobby. For this jar lid ornament, I'm using one of these plastic lids that came on a cylinder that we got in the mail. And I'm also going to be using one of these transfers from Redesign by Prima. So I'm just trying to fit it in there so that I can cut around it and make sure it fits properly. Once I have it cut to size, I'm going to take the lid and I'm going to give it a rust look. Using Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, I'm going to paint the outside and the inside rim and the back. And then I'm going to sprinkle on cinnamon and let it dry. If you sprinkle the cinnamon on while the paint is still wet, I found that this is a much less messy way to do it than using Mod Podge. Once I have the rim of the lid done, I'll do the back and then I'll set it aside to dry. Now I'll apply my transfer, and you'll notice here that this is actually a really good transfer because I put it down and it's not where I want it, and I didn't realize it until I had done it, and I pulled it up and it pulled up fine. I don't recommend doing that, but I did get lucky and this is a good transfer, so it didn't just stick where I had put it. Once that transfer has been applied, I'm going to use a white pipe cleaner and I'm going to hot glue that around the inside rim of the ornament. This just kind of, to me, gives it a snowy look. Now I'm going to use some red velvet ribbon to glue around the rim of the ornament as the hanger. I'm starting in the bottom center of the ornament and I'm going to hot glue there and then up around each edge until I have ribbon left at the top to hang it. And once that's complete, I'm going to embellish it with a red poinsettia and leaves. I hope you've enjoyed today's DIYs. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Thanks again to Kathy, Jo, Brenda, and May for hosting today's challenge. Be sure and check out their channels in the description box along with the playlist. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to share the sheet. Bye now.